Hey, so good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for taking time out to join me for this webinar, which we're going to go over kind of some training on the recent updates that came out for the Xcelerate release just last weekend. My name is Nathan Link, and I'm going to be the host for this webinar. The good news is, if you're able to be here, awesome. If some of your staff weren't able to make it, it's going to be available on demand using the same link that you were able to get access to for this webinar right now. So you can share it, and we're hoping that this is going to be able to be valuable for you guys. And so let's kind of go from there. Let's see here. These are going to be the topics that we're covering. I'm going to not spend maybe too much time on any of them in particular. We're going to move relatively quickly. If we have some time at the end, I'm going to open it up for potential training topics that you guys would like to see. So prepare to kind of use a poll for interaction on that. And then at the end, we'll have, if we have time, we'll also do some Q&A real briefly. So with that, I'm going to get started here and go over the first topic, which is how to force your browser into deep refresh. So why would we need to do that? And what's really the thought behind it? When you're using your browser and when you're using websites, your system's going to use short-term memory to save some of that information. And sometimes it needs to be refreshed. And if you click on refresh on your browser, it may not actually refresh the entire page. So to force it to do that without having to clear the cache, you can always use this shortcut, which is Control F5, and that will actually erase all that cache data just for the website you're on and refresh it. So every time we do a release and you see an email about the new updates that are coming out from Xcelerate, it might be a good idea to do this. If you've noticed that certain items are not showing up, or maybe like a Matterport icon, it just didn't show up, this would be a way to get it to show up if there's a refresh that's required. So on your keyboard, you hold Control down and then you click the F5 button, and it'll actually do that force refresh. This should be universal across all browsers. The second topic that I'm going to cover is going to be our Matterport integration. So we released Matterport, and I'm going to jump over to Xcelerate here real quick. We released our Matterport integration, and I'm going to show you how that works. So it's on a file level. It's not on the master jobs. So in order for you to add a Matterport scan to a file, you're going to open up your file like this, and you're going to see this icon here. And that goes back to the whole Control F5 thing. If you don't happen to see this icon, click on Control F5 and do a force refresh. But from what I've heard, everybody has been able to see this, and so you should be able to see it on your system as well. If you click on that, it's going to ask for a URL from Matterport. How you get that will be opening up a Matterport scan. So like this, if you're familiar with Matterport, this should be something you're using every day or whenever you're in a scan. At the bottom right, you're going to see this share this space, and you're going to have all these options here. If you click on the copy URL at the top and then go back over to Xcelerate, you can paste that in here. Once you save, that Matterport icon is going to actually become colored in, and you now will have that access to that Matterport scan through Xcelerate. You also, at the bottom, can click on mymatterport.com, and it's going to pull up that very same Matterport scan. But if you're an admin or a Xcelerate user or a Matterport user, you'll be able to go in and change all the details inside of Matterport. So right now, fairly straightforward, easy process. Shouldn't be too hard to get adding your Matterport scans into the files. If you happen to make a mistake when you pasted that URL in, you can edit that code here and change it. So also, if you wanted to change Matterport scans, you could do that through the edit button on the top of the screen. So the next topic that we're going to have is the file list. The file list, and we're going to go over a review on that because there's a couple items I want to make sure that we cover for the file list. So this is the file list right here, and I know you guys spend a lot of time in this file list. You're using it on a daily basis, but that doesn't mean you know all of the the best ways maybe to use it. So for a review, if you mouse over the columns, there's going to be this little 3-lined item. And when you click that, it drops down the filters. So if you're searching for a customer name, this is how you would do it. You click on that 3-lined item, and then you would type the customer name in. I know that it's pretty straightforward, but some of you guys didn't know that those were there. Also, if you do happen to type in a filter, it's going to actually show that little filter icon there, and that lets you know that you've filtered it. And so then you can remove that, and that icon will go away. So you can really filter any of these columns and look at the different list based on the criteria that you're selecting. So that's the first thing. The second thing will be that these columns up at the top are customizable. So you can not only resize them, but you can also change the layout of them. So right now I have work authorization, loss address, estimator, supervisor, estimate uploaded, but I could go in and take them all away. There's only a few of these columns that are required by Xcelerate. And so what I want to show you here is if I take all of them away, this is what it would look like. These are the 4 columns that are required by Xcelerate. You can't remove these. So when you're going in and clicking this customize list on the far right, it's going to save for just you. And so every time you load Xcelerate, it's going to use these columns that you want to add. So it might be a good idea to go through this and make sure only the ones that you really care about and that you want to see are selected, and all the other ones aren't. The other thing is the scroll bar. It's a lot easier to scroll if you're just adding the items that you actually want to see. So customizing those columns, selecting the ones that you want, that's definitely something that we would love to have everybody using and setting up for themselves so that they get to see the items that they would use on a daily basis. The other key item here is you can click on a file right here on the icon, but you can also click on a file right here. And I wouldn't recommend you do this because every time you click on the link here, it's going to open a new tab up at the top, and it has to actually log into Xcelerate from the beginning. And that process can actually take quite a few seconds, and so it slows it down. And it's just not as responsive as if you click on the files right here and kind of move in and out. So our recommendation, if you're navigating through the file list, is to be clicking these icons and jumping around that way because it's a lot faster and a lot more user-friendly. So I'm going to add a couple more items back in here. So one that we created recently that you may not have on your system right now is this one. It's called Notes. So I'm going to click that and bring that up. And so now you'll see this new column. It's called Notes. And what it is really just the notes on a file that you can view without having to open the file itself. So maybe you're going through this list and you have certain work that you need to complete. You can click on the Notes tab, read the notes, and then jump out of that note screen and jump into the next file. So it's really, really fast and easy to kind of see where a job is if you're doing things in a batch format or going through lists. So like if I go here and say, I'm going to follow up on all the jobs that are at sales, I can go and say, okay, well, where's this job? And this job? And what about this job? And so it allows you to really quickly move through all of your files and kind of get an updated idea of what's happening with them and what's next. So that's kind of a high-level overview of the file list and some of the changes and improvements we've made there. And there's also some other exciting changes coming to the file list in the next couple weeks. So those I'll be able to announce at that time. So we kind of went over the note shortcut. So I'm going to now show you guys the photo navigation. So I don't know how many of you guys are using photos inside of Xcelerate, but I'm just going to show you how, if you were to be using them, it can work and some of the functionality that we offer now, which is different from before. So I'm going to open up this file here, and you've probably seen the icon, which is pictures. That now houses a completely different interface than before. And so I'm going to show you how to use the photos inside of Xcelerate. First up at the top left, you're going to see all pictures. With all pictures, you're going to see every picture that was taken for this particular file. There's no real format or way it's broken down. It just shows all of them. But you have a column over here which can use as a filter, and then also a filter by tags over here. So I'm going to start with looking at the filter by tag. Every photo that's taken or uploaded into Xcelerate automatically gets a date tag added. So if I click on this date tag, it's going to show me all the photos that were taken on 9/30. You don't have to have your technicians or anybody adding that date. It's just being put in automatically. So I can quickly look at the photos that were taken one day and then click on the next and see the following day. Also, if I wanted to look at all of the photos that were taken regarding the ceiling, I can do that, or all the exterior photos, or all the photos before demo or after demo. So these are quick filters that you can look at all your photos in a general sense, but you can then also break it up by the room. And so here, the front of house, this is an album that is created by default. Every time a file is created, you're going to have an album called front of house. You're also going to have an album called source of loss. So your technicians will be able to go in and add a front of house source of loss photo because those albums are automatically there. Then they would go in and add rooms, and then you would add photos to those rooms. We'll go over the mobile component of the photos, and I can show you how it looks on the mobile as well, but I'm just showing you what it would look like after those photos have been taken. So this is the bedroom, and these tags work as well. So if I go to the bedroom and I say, what about all the photos that were taken in the bedroom on the 30th? And how about today? You can break it down and see those differences based on the tag. Were there any photos of the bedroom ceiling? No, there weren't. You can also click on the photo. So we didn't really have the ability to blow up the photo and look at it, but now we do. And once you do so, you can scroll through the photos that are in that particular album. And you can also rotate the photo, save that rotation, download the photo, zoom in. And if you wanted to download all the photos or download certain photos, you can go through that as well. So here you can download those photos. You can update the tags if the tags don't necessarily say the tags that you'd like them to say. And then you also would be able to upload all the images manually through the web and add all the tags and rooms through this process as well. So all of the functionalities that are available on the mobile are available on the web, although we would recommend that you're using the mobile app for taking those photos and uploading it, because it's a lot more seamless and there's not quite as many steps. So that is kind of our photo navigation on the web, a broad overview. There's a little bit more there that I didn't cover, but it gives you a pretty good idea of the capabilities that are in Xcelerate for photos. So we released a time zone update for Xcelerate, and I don't know if you experienced any issues with time zones or having times that were a little bit off occasionally, but what I'd like to cover is inside of your user account, if you click on your profile up at the top right, there now is a functionality called time zone. If you click on that drop down, you can erase this time zone and type in the time zone that you are actually in. So if it's Eastern, you can type that in. If it's Pacific, you can type that in. And you're going to click on that and click update. This is going to be saved on a user level. So if I happen to switch my time zone because I travel to Europe and I want to look at the time based on Europe, the times are going to look different than when I was in Arizona. So, you know, make sure your users are putting this in when the users are getting created. Also, if you happen to be an administrator, you can go in to the user creation page and change that for them. So inside of the edit on the user list, you can go to the time zone and you can select it right here and click update. And this will make sure that their time zones are reflected properly. So if this is a problem, if any users are experiencing times that don't look right, or that maybe it's hours off, this would be the fix. By default, they should be going to the time zone that you are currently at. So that shouldn't be an issue there. But if there is an issue, this is how you would go about correcting it. And I would recommend people selecting the time zone that reflects where they are at so that it shows up in Xcelerate properly. And so the final item that I have here is going to be showing you the mobile photos and how that looks on the mobile. So hold on while I switch from my web share here to the mobile. Alrighty, so this is that same file that we were looking at on the web, but I pulled it up here on the mobile. So I'm going to click Pictures right here on a file. And so you're going to be able to see from this screen, take picture, upload pictures, and the Xcelerate album. So if I click the Xcelerate album, all of those albums that we were looking at are visible here. The number at the top right reflects how many photos exist inside of that album. So if I click on the bathroom, those are those 3 photos that we were looking at. I can look at those photos. I can rotate those photos. They show the tags at the bottom, and I can send it via email right here from the mobile app as well. If I go back here, there's a filter up at the top right. If I click on that filter, I can actually select the tags that we're selecting in the web app as well. So I can narrow down the criteria of photos that are showing up based on those tags. Which it doesn't seem to be working right now, but hold on here. I apologize for that. So let me jump back into that file. So if I'm taking photos as well, so here there's the Xcelerate album for viewing, then there's take pictures. If I click on the take picture, in order to take a photo, I need to select an album that I'm putting the photos in. So let's say I'm going to take another photo of the basement. I'm going to click on that basement. I now have the camera that's pulled up. I select the photo and click on the checkbox. At that point, this is where I'm going to be adding those tags. So here at the bottom, there's all these tags. I can slide it up and just select the tags that apply to this particular photo. And then I can click on save or save and take another photo. And so this way you can very quickly go through the process of taking multiple photos at one time and adding unique tags that apply to this particular photo. And then once I am done with that, I can go back and add photos to a different room. So you're adding them based on the room, and then you're adding tags uniquely to each photo that you take.